Okay, do you know what a third place is?
A third place to me is, I think it's best explained by going through the first place, which is the home, the second place, which is work. So then the third place is any other place where you're not residing in, but you're also not there necessarily to like do your job or like be productive. So it could mean just like a place to hang out with friends or like a place to be in community or participate in some hobby. Like it's for everything else. That's how I see it.
Do you have any examples of third places in your own life?
I'd say a lot of academic buildings here, like TAWS.
I would say TAWS Hall.
The building we're in right now, TAWS.
There's TAWS, cause like FCA, we'd be living there.
I would say one of the biggest extracurriculars that I've been involved with is the Filipino Cultural Association. So literally just holding our e-board meetings for planning events and things like that there, or even just like again studying or like using like rooms to like sing or like anything along those lines. You know, it's very miscellaneous, I would say.
When I came on campus after the online year, and I was already a part of the Filipino Cultural Association from the online year, it was just a thing that it was like, oh, we're back in person, now we can hang in TAWS again. And it was just something that they did before. And yeah, I think it's just a matter of precedent and also just like a matter of like nostalgia, because once you're like hanging in a place for a long time, like that space starts to mean something to you, and so you don't really want to go to any other spaces other than that one.
So sometimes it's not necessarily just about the space and how I'm using the space physically, but it's who's with me in that space. So I would say a lot of how I use TAWS as a third space or third place is just like being with that kind of community that also uses that place, and from there figuring out like, oh, what can we literally do? But it's more so just about the people that are present, I think.
It's a lot of community building, like bonding through like the hardships that we're going through finals. Like some people had like 4 exams this week, or they had like 5 papers due. I'm exaggerating, but it was a lot of stuff like that where we were able to like support each other. I think that was like a really good thing that I liked about it. We were able to be there as like a community and we could help each other.
I've noticed it's really like a good like third place for a lot of the Asian orgs on campus. Like whenever I'm here at night, like I just notice a bunch of like people from other Asian orgs just doing their own things in their own rooms, and it's really cool because it's like, oh, like this org is in this room and this org is in that room, but they're not even doing like org specific things or like a publicized event. It's just members of their organization just hanging out and having fun.
A lot of the student organizations here, just speaking generally, we're not afforded any spaces for ourselves from the university, so we have to make use of what we have, and especially as a lot of my friends are mainly like minorities of color, we have to make those spaces for ourselves because unfortunately like that's not just given to us. So
Art Soc and TAWS, honestly it's always been a question in my head, like why are we here? Like guys, I can let us into like a nicer, like one of these newer engineering places. I would say one reason is probably because of the location of it. I guess it could be seen as more central because it's closer to the mall, but it could be also tradition. Like, oh, we've always gone here, so it could also be access to the space. Like, we've gone there for so long and we're allowed to be there, or like hopefully we're allowed to be there. Whereas like maybe with the newer spaces, it's like it feels like we're not, like someone's gonna like catch us and be like, go home. I feel like it could be that.
It's so much more accessible because a lot of the other rooms, the loopholes you have to jump through by the university system to officially book these rooms or reserve them. It's much harder than just grabbing a room that doesn't necessarily require reservations, I suppose. And yeah, just because it's easy to access, that's why we keep using it. And it's big enough, it's perfect, it's a perfect space. You know, obviously it would be nice to use ESJ more maybe, or like any other building that's newer, but it's not accessible, it gets policed. The university literally gatekeeps it from its own students unless it's being used for an official class. There are also no restrictions on like our presence there. Like we're allowed to be there, and when we're there, usually we don't get questioned because like it's been openly acceptable as a public space for us to like use it to like foster communities and do what we have to do as students, you know. Like I find it very interesting that in many other buildings, while I do understand security is important, like there are so many other buildings that are policed so much heavier than other buildings, and it feels weird that a lot of times we have to be questioned as students why we're there when we're literally students on a university campus. So I think it's really nice that like when we're there, like even when there are faculty members there, you know, no one really bats an eye to what we're doing. Unless obviously, you know, it's obviously not okay to do like bad stuff in those spaces, but you know, as students and as adults, like we should know that, and you know, we should hold each other accountable when we are doing that stuff. But in general, like I think, you know, the university like should trust us as students more. You know, we shouldn't have to be policed as such in other buildings. So in my opinion, honestly, it's quite unfortunate that those are the two buildings that we have to be pigeonholed to, but since we make do with it and we make it our own and we kind of create a home out of it, so.
Yeah, and I remember like freshman year online, like there was like a Discord channel called TAWS, and I was like, what the fuck is TAWS? And I think that just shows like how impactful this space was on our community, that like it was something that we tried to recreate and replicate online when we couldn't access it during the pandemic. I noticed that, especially with how I've experienced TAWS now, like it was sort of the same energy online. So there were people in that channel that would study if they wanted to, but also it was just a place to like talk and hang out and like meet other people, which I definitely feel was a very good space, especially for freshmen who were in college for the first time and online and didn't really have those other like places to meet people. So yeah, it was a good like balance of like work and play.
I think as a college student, we naturally do get worked up in like needing to be on top of our schoolwork all the time. Like there's definitely been days, I'm sure for you as well, where it's like you're literally just sleeping and like going to school and then doing homework and then going back to sleep and eating. Like there's actually like not even any other time for anything else. So by having like a third place, it reminds you that it's like, oh wait, there's like other aspects to living. Like, yeah, and like we need that, like for our mental health.
Okay, my last question is, if you could imagine your dream third space, what would it look like?
Honestly, the first thing I thought of was food. So having like really accessible food is like a necessity, especially like healthy food, because a lot of like the cheaper options here are like fast food and stuff, which is like that's a whole nother thing I could go on about.
Like I need like a dream third place has to have like nature and like greenery and like sunlight. Like I want to be basking.
Is that I don't know what it will look like physically. I don't know what needs to be there physically, but the only thing that I know that needs to be there is like the people that I care about, the people that I want in my third place, where I feel safe and where I feel comfortable with them. Literally, whoever it needs to be to create a safe space for myself and themselves as well.
Actually, I want to be comfortable. Like, not just comfortable, like, physically, but comfortable, like, emotionally and mentally. I think what's important for me for a third space is, like, for me to feel like I can be there and that I belong there, and that I'm not really, like, intruding on anyone else. No one is intruding on me. It's just a place where we can all do what we want, like, comfortably.